We are moving some of our shows at talknorth.com to video, at least sporadically. We hope to put almost all of our shows all the time on video here going forward because, Jon looks good on TV. Now, I have to admit, I still think of myself as like a 40-year-old guy. So I'll see myself in video. I'll say, what are we doing here? So maybe a green screen, maybe with some superhero figure instead of me with my voice, behind it. We'll see. We'll work on my appearance. So you're stuck with me today, though. This is the Jon Krawczynski Show. He's Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic and TalkNorth.com. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This, of course, is our basketball show at TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott with Aquarius Home Services. Spring was all over the map, shoveling snow one day and enjoying the warm sun the next. But now we all know the real heat is coming.
Are you ready?
Get ahead of it with 50% off an AC tune-up. We'll give your system the VIP treatment, review the details, and answer all your questions. At Aquarius, we aim to wow you with incredible service and earn the right to be recommended. Visit AquariusHomeservices.com today.
The Jon Krawczynski Show is also presented to you by Giggly THC Beverages and Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. We'll tell you more about them and our other great sponsors later. Let's dive into it, Jon. We were at the Timberwolves game on Monday night. It did not go. It was a great game. It was incredibly entertaining. It was the first real down-to-the-wire game of the series. It was a blast. Did not go the Timberwolves' way. I was listening to a bunch of ESPN talking heads this morning, and Chris Finch is taking a lot of heat for not doubling Shai more often. Let's just start there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see certainly the argument. I asked Chris Finch about that after the game. I just said, how do you make your decision on when to double and when not to? His response was, Shai was 13 for 30. And so I do see that justification in terms of they were making it hard on him. He was having a difficult time knocking down the shots that he had to take. But there's no question also that at a couple of key junctures down the stretch when they really needed to stop, you could make the argument that maybe throw another body at him, just get him off of his game, throw a different look at him, and that would have been helpful. In the end, it was his free throws, and it was just his resourcefulness that kind of propelled him, because there were just a couple of times they were right there. I mean, and I think of the one play where they have him swarmed, he's falling to the ground, and he somehow throws the ball through Jaden McDaniel's legs right to Jalen Williams, and he hits a three. So it's possible that a well-timed double here or there may have derailed him a little bit, but he got to the line a lot. He made the right plays when he had to. It was an MVP performance, and 13 for 30 tells me that they were contesting him pretty well a lot of the night. He just made some great plays, and that's what an MVP does.
Yeah, I also think that the argument that they should have doubled him more constantly, trapped him more constantly, would make more sense if Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren weren't having great games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
when he got rid of the ball, he was getting the ball to people who were destroying the Wolves.
Jalen was 6 of 9 from 3. Chet hit some big threes. I do think that we have seen in the past, especially with the Nuggets and Jokic, that a lot of times the Wolves will take an approach where, hey, Nikola, you're going to score your points. We're going to try and limit the other guys. And that has usually really worked. Last night, when you're playing in game 4 and they're trying to limit Shai, but also let him, maybe not let him, but make it hard on him, but then also stay home on the other guys. And every time that Shai found Chet or Jalen Williams for good looks, they just knocked him down. And to get that kind of production from number 2 and number 3, it was a backbreaker for the Wolves. There's no question about it. And, you know, we'll get into this as the show goes along, but the amount of second chances that they gave a really, really good offense was really ultimately the killer. a lot of the scoring just came from offensive rebound, kick out three, attack the basket, get the rebound, put back, score. And so I don't know how much of the problem was Shai one-on-one scoring right away versus the defender in front of him. I mean, that happens sometimes, but I think more so it was Shai go to the basket, miss the shot, rebound, kick out, score, that kind of a thing. And it was the Timberwolves' inability to end possessions after getting one stop that really killed them in the end.
Yeah, agreed. Also, it's fascinating to watch Oklahoma City operate because the entire modern NBA defensive philosophy is make people take tough twos. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma City loves taking tough twos. They make them.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of times, in the fourth quarter, especially Jalen Williams and Shai both just hitting ridiculous turnaround contested mid-range shots. And those are the plays that kind of have defined this series. I mean, they in games 1 and 2 as well, it wasn't, the Thunder didn't shoot the three ball well in the 1 and 2. They shot it really well in game 4. But in 1 and 2, it was getting to that elbow, getting to the mid-range, 14, 15, 16 feet, rising up and making tough shots. And yeah, it's kind of just jarring to watch a team win that way because it is just so rare these days. I mean, I think the Timberwolves go into every game saying, let's limit the rim and limit 3-pointers, and that'll be good enough to win. And it's just not good enough against this Thunder team. They are so crafty and resourceful, and being able to knock down those mid-range shots just means that they're so much harder to guard.
Yes. I want to get to Ant Randall, but I want to stay on the Wolves defense here for a second. First, though, I want to let you know that I'm drinking a lot of Giggly THC beverages. It's early morning right now, so I'm not drinking one right now. But, most nights I have at least one. It's just a great way to ease into sleep, to relax, to de-stress. You can find them at Quick Trips everywhere in Minnesota. You can find them at most places. You can find groceries or liquor. This is non-alcoholic, natural flavors, fruit juices, low ingredient, low calorie, healthy, affordable, no regret, no hangover. It's just a great thing. I still like having a cocktail on the weekends, but weeknights or if I have to be up early the next morning, it's so nice to have something that tastes like a cocktail that isn't going to hurt me in any way. So check out Giggly THC Beverages, GIGLI.com, promo code promo code Giggly North will get you 50% off your first order. Then if you get in their sphere and start getting their emails or checking their website, whatever, there will be other deals you can get. There's always a deal you can get. So I just highly recommend it. Now I want John to tell us about one of our newer sponsors across Talk North, Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
That's right. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with 2 great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Thanks to our sponsors. We do appreciate it. They've helped us grow. They've helped us survive. They help us keep expanding. Now we have people like Mark Rosen and Don Mitchell and Randy Shaver on the network. That's due to our sponsors. So we appreciate them. So let's get back to defense just for a little bit. Game 3, the Wolves throw a different look at Shai. It befuddles him. It's one of the reasons they're able to blow out a great Oklahoma City team at home. What did they do in Game 3, and then how did Oklahoma City counter in Game 4?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. A couple of things. One is they did change from games 1 and 2 to 3 in the way that they attacked Shai defensively in terms of Jaden McDaniels was in games 1 and 2 was picking Shai up almost as soon as he crossed half court, like really extending the defense and trying to wear him out that way. It didn't work because Shai was able to get around him, and then the Thunder were able to also set the screen much higher in the court, and that gave Shai more of a runway to get downhill, get to the basket, create either for himself or for others. In game 3, Jane McDaniels was much deeper, was sitting at the 3-point line, waiting for Shai to come over. They had to set the screen lower. And I think that compacted things a little bit more and allowed the Timberwolves defense to really kind of stay connected and help each other a little bit more. And so what happened then was the Wolves really conceded the corner threes a little bit more, gave those up, and gave up those open shots, and Oklahoma City missed. Now, in game 4, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, they all hit these threes. And so Shai had 10 assists to go with his 40 points. And I just think finding those open shooters and getting those Thunder players to knock those shots down, they had been shooting 32% from 3 throughout the playoffs. They shot like 42% last night. And so that was just a big difference when the supporting cast are knocking down shots like that. It just makes them so much harder to guard. And then it gives Shai a little bit more leeway to operate on his own because everyone can't just completely collapse on him.
Let's get to Ant and Randall. They both had, Randall had a terrible game. Ant says he had a good game, and he's probably justified in saying that he tried to make the right play a lot. I just think superstar in a big moment, maybe the biggest game of the year, something very close to a must win. I just would have liked to see more aggression on offense early. And I wonder if his lack of aggression on offense early led to him being somewhat passive all game. What did you think of either or both of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with Ant. I thought Chris Finch summed it up pretty well in terms of saying that in the first half, he was a little bit laggy, I think was the adjective that he used. And it did look like Ant was having a hard time figuring out where to get his shot. 2 shots in the first half is just like not enough for Anthony Edwards. But what I will give him is this. The Oklahoma City defense is historically good. They have great perimeter defenders, and it's clear that they were hell-bent on making sure that Anthony Edwards was going to see as many bodies as possible and that they were going to make it as hard on him as possible to get his shots. As the game developed, even late first quarter into the second quarter, it became clear that Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, guys like that were really on their game. They were hitting shots that they had been struggling with for much of the series, much of the playoffs, really. And so Anthony Edwards was kind of trying to use all of that Oklahoma City defensive aggression against themselves, against the Thunder, and draw all that attention, move the ball, and they were getting wide open shots and they were making them. Halfway through the second quarter, they're shooting 64% from the field. They're still
68% at one point.
Yeah, and they were still 50% at half against a defense that is so good. So I think that in his mind, he was saying, okay, I'm not scoring, but we are putting up plenty of points. This is working. And so what Oklahoma City wanted to do, I believe, Jim, was hope that they could sort of force Ant into saying, these are really tough shots. I have to be the shooter, so I'm going to try and do this myself and take these really tough shots and miss them. And instead, he was being patient and finding guys, and it was working. He got to a much better mix in the second half of, I think he had 11 shots in the second half, still probably not enough, but he was looking for himself and then also finding others. And I was talking to my friend Marcus Thompson, who covers the Warriors after the game, and he said, I've seen teams do that to Steph over and over and over again in terms of you make him get the ball out of his hands, and it's so hard to face those doubles and face those hard physical coverages and still get your own points. But when you look at the offense in totality, to score 126 points, to shoot 50% from the field, to shoot 42% from three, everything that Ant did was making all of that happen. And so, yes, he did not score 30 points himself. He did not have the big game, but what he did was put the Wolves in position to have one of the best offensive games you could possibly have against that defense. And it should have been enough. Where I think, Jim, you can criticize Anthony Edwards is I don't think that his defensive intensity was anywhere near the way it was in game 3. The level that he set in the first quarter of game 3 defensively set the tone for the Wolves the rest of that game. And, they just knocked the Thunder out right away. But Ant too often in game 4 was caught sleeping. Was beat back door for easy layups, was slow to close out on Jalen Williams at 3-pointers, was not getting enough defensive rebounds. He had 4 rebounds in the game. He needed to have like 9 or 10. And so I was disappointed in Ant on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, I think he could have been a little bit better. And, 5 turnovers. He had a couple of turnovers late that were really tough. But offensively, I thought he did what needed to be done to get them where they needed to go. It's just they were not good enough defensively. You can't give up 128 at home in the playoffs and expect to win.
One other thing, he has a history of being either spectacular from the three-point line or terrible from the three-point line in postseason games. Sometimes they've even won, like they did Game 7 in Denver last year when he was terrible from three-point. So it's not always the deciding factor, but 1 for 7 last night from the 3.
Yeah, I mean, if he makes one more of those, they win the game. And he missed 2 free throws. You look at all those little things, the margin for error when you're facing the number 1 team in the West, that 168 games, that is so consistent and so reliable. It's so small. And so I think for a 23-year-old on this stage, still learning and figuring things out, I thought that, offensively was good, defensively not good enough. And yeah, but there were little things that you can't afford. You have to play close to perfect. And he was not. And certainly, Julius Randle was just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Ant, you can have a debate on what he should have done and how well he played. Julius was terrible. I think he hit one early shot, and Dort started bodying him up, and he just didn't do anything right the rest of the game.
Yeah, what I didn't like, after the game is, for the second time this series, he said, I was a spectator. And, I asked him, if that was on him or was it on Finch to get him more involved. And he took accountability for it and said, I've got to find ways to get more involved. But I think spectator was the right description. He just was not in the fight. And for a player who has been so important to them and has been so great for most of this postseason and has been able to channel and harness that aggression in the best of ways, he was just so passive last night. What they need against this Thunder front line is they need him to put shoulders into chests and just body them. And he did not grab enough rebounds. He was not getting his shot. He was not attacking in the ways that he can. And, Shai had 40, but Jalen Williams, I think, was the player of the game. He had 34 points. And Randle has been, just thoroughly outplayed by Jalen Williams in the series. And for the Wolves to have had a chance for an upset here, they needed Randle to be the second best player, in the series, the clear better Robin of the two. And it just hasn't been that way. And it's weird. It's, you've heard these criticisms of his playoff performances in the past. And some of it, he said, well, he was injured in one Knicks series. And The other one, he had too much on his plate and all that. But this time he's not, he's not injured. He's completely healthy. He has Anthony Edwards to draw a lot of the attention, and he's just had two glaring no-shows in this series, and they just are never going to win the games when he does not bring the physicality and he does not bring the attentiveness. I didn't think he was very good defensively. He was, just non-existent offensively, and they can't survive that. They just cannot survive Julius Randle being a non-factor in these games.
We may talk about Cat later in this episode, but first tell us about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton and the Princeton family have been in the liquor business for decades and decades. You can go in to the store, and if you're looking for a great bourbon, if you're looking for great craft beer, you will find no better selection of bourbon and craft beers than at Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. You want unique options, they have it. You want incredibly popular options, they have it. You want affordable options, they have it. You want higher end stuff, they have it. Whatever you want in any spirit that you're looking for, but particularly with bourbon and craft beer, go to Princeton's Liquors. Bill Princeton has been a part of this community forever and ever. He wore the Crunch costume way back in the day for the Timberwolves and Lynx in the summer. He is a tried and true Minnesota basketball fan. So support the people who support us. Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove.
Thanks also to the longtime sponsor, pretty much original sponsor of this show, TSR Injury Law. Steve Terry, his partners, have been incredibly supportive, and we've seen their business grow from basically a one-room operation to a place with truly palatial setting, office space. We've been there. We've done shows from there. They're doing a great job, and they've been successful because they help people. They help people who are up against insurance companies who desperately need the help. It's a labyrinth out there. You're going to need an expert if you're ever injured. We hope you don't need their help, but if you do, call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. You'll deal with a lawyer, and they will point you in the right direction. If they can't help you, they won't charge you unless they win your case, and they win lots of cases. 612-TSR-TIME. Thanks also to Royal Credit Union.
Boost your savings when you open a money market account at Royal Credit Union. For a limited time, you can get a $1,250 bonus when you bring $100,000 or more in new money to open a personal or business money market account. Royal's money market accounts have no monthly maintenance fee and tiered rates, so higher balances earn more. See details and open a money market account today at rcu.org/earn-more. Minimum deposit of $100,000 required to obtain bonus. Offer ends 5/24/25. Insured by NCUA.
So what is the cure for limiting the Thunder offensive rebounding and limiting the Timberwolves turnovers?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the rebounding part of it, it just comes down to intensity and want to. The Thunder got to every loose ball in game 4, and you have to give them a ton of credit. They got absolutely dominated in game 3, and they came out with a real intensity and just really used their physicality and their hustle and their kind of work ethic to run circles around the Wolves on the defensive glass. And I think Rudy Gobert did a good job defensively as a rim protector and as a deterrent, but I think he was very slow to react on a lot of the balls that just kind of were just out of his reach or right around in the area. He didn't seem to be as quick twitch. And so he was beaten to some spots by the Thunder. I think that Anthony Edwards, some of their guards were just not helping enough with when Rudy had a body or two on him, trying to kind of get him off of the glass and neutralize him for tap outs. They didn't have the guards that were helping enough there. And I also think that, Randall, McDaniels, all these guys it has to be a gang rebound mentality. And I think the Thunder went into the game saying, we're just going to do whatever it takes to get even a fingertip on the ball, tip it to one of our teammates, run it down, whatever they can. And the Wolves just did not respond to that ramp up in energy and activity on the rebounding side. From the turnover side, the Thunder do this. They're really, really good at creating turnovers, but I think that too often in the game, in game 4, the Wolves kind of dribbled into traffic a lot more. Ant did this several times. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Julius Randle was doing a lot of dribbling, and that allows the Thunder defense to kind of converge on you, and they swipe at you, and they swat at you, and they create turnovers that way. And so I don't think the ball movement was as crisp or as quick as we saw in game 3. In game 3, the ball was moving around the horn. There was fewer possessions where it was Ant or Julius taking 8, 9, 10 dribbles and trying to probe and look for things. And so the Thunder just do a great job of forcing teams into doing that. And when they do, capitalizing on it. And 23 turnovers, just not good enough, especially the first quarter, Jim. They had 7 turnovers in the first quarter, and that allowed the Thunder to be out front 37-30. And that was kind of the game, because they Thunder won the first quarter by 7, the second quarter by 1, and the Wolves won the 2 quarters in the second half by 3 each, I think. And so it was that first quarter of sloppiness that just dug a hole that was just a little too deep for the Wolves to get out of.
Yes. So Shannon has played the last 2 games. He's brought a lot. What does that mean for game 5? What does that mean for the Wolves' future?
It's all hands on deck. And I think, the idea to put Shannon in was a great one. Especially in game 3, it was a huge spark for them offensively. But then even in game 4, he had like 9 points in like 8 minutes. And he was really productive, really energetic. Defensively in game 4 was a little bit harder for him. Because he was in the game when it wasn't a blowout. And so I think the Thunder were just a little bit more intentional in finding him and attacking him a little bit more with Jalen Williams. But there's no question that he has a future here in this rotation. And what happens with Naz Reid, what happens with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Julius Randle, all these will be seen in the offseason. But having a player who just brings that type of pace and that type of energy to a game is a game changer. This is a team that sometimes struggles to get out on the fast break, but Terrence Shannon Jr. is a one-man fast break. Like, he is a guy who absolutely gets out and goes and can finish through contact and really speed up the pace of the game. And I think against this Thunder defense in particular, picking up that pace is really important, because the faster you play, the better the chance you have at a clean possession, at one that you're not surrounded by 3 people swiping at you going to the basket. It gives them less of a chance to really set themselves and dig into you. And I think Terrence Shannon Jr. really brings a lot of that. So I'd like to see even more of him in game 5 and see if that kind of helps flip things around for the Wolves.
Finch said something really interesting in that regard. Let's get to that next. But first, tell us about your experience with True Vision Institute.
Saw Dr. Chu at game 3. He was there, had great seats, was watching the game, and just really great to reconnect with him, because he's just, a super easy person to be around. And when you're navigating a nerve-wracking experience like LASIK surgery is with True Vision in Bloomington, having someone like Dr. Chu, who is so calming, who has been doing this for so long, it really puts your mind at ease. And so if you go to truevision.com and set up a consultation, you will go in, they will take you through all of the steps like they did with me. They will find the right vision correction procedure for you. I got the LASIK from Dr. Chu. He brought me into the room, I was in and out in like 10 minutes, literally. A couple of minutes on each eye and you're done. You go home, you rest a little bit, you wake up from a little nap and you're seeing clearly. And I told Dr. Chu in game 3, it was life changing. Everything is so much easier. But he makes that experience a great one, and one that I cannot recommend enough. If you're a little squeamish, if you're wondering if this is going to be an experience you want to go through, having someone like Dr. Chu with his calming voice, with his assuredness, you can't put a price tag on it. So go to chuvision.com, set up your consultation. They will take great care of you, and tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you.
Go to True Vision. Then when you go to Head Flyer to watch the games, you'll see the big screens even more clearly.
Crystal clear these days. Absolutely.
Tell us about Head Flyer.
Head Flyer in Northeast Minneapolis. They are having these watch parties. I love Head Flyer. Some of the other breweries around town can have a little bit of a cramped atmosphere in their tap rooms. Not Head Flyer. It is wide open. They have a patio kind of deck right out front of it too. There's plenty of room to work. Plenty of room to sit down with your friends, with coworkers, with family. Bring your dog, bring your kids. They have board games and stuff to play, but really you can go in and you can have great beer while you're watching these Wolves games. It's a great Timberwolves experience. The Wolves fans have descended on the place for these games. It's a community. You all can sit together. You can bite your nails. You can cheer. You can stress. You can do all those things. Most importantly, with just the best beer around. I love their Wicked Jump Shot. We have a collaboration, Crunch Time. Our friend Travis Sheridan with Sneaker Reporter just unveiled his own collaboration as well. So they have a bunch of creative, different flavors and styles of beers, THC seltzers and gummies. Go into Head Flyer in Northeast Minneapolis, hang out, have a great time, and get some great beer while you're doing it.
Finally, we want to thank longtime sponsor and Men About Town, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. Will ask one of their sponsored Twitter questions to end this show.
sglambchops.com is the place to go. Use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything that you can get there. It's just great, stylish, casual streetwear, hoodies, t-shirts, shorts, sweatpants, pants. I have a sweater that is one of the most comfortable, softest sweaters that I own. And Jordan and Craig and the guys there just make really high quality, super comfortable, but super stylish clothes that you can wear anywhere. You can wear them at home while you're watching the game. You can go out in the North Loop and feel very comfortable and very at home being out there wearing their stuff. And the cool thing about Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing is you get into Target Center and you just see so many people wearing it. It is something that is kind of unique to these Twin Cities that people are wearing all over town. And you know that good people have put in great work to make an unbelievable product. So go to sglambchops.com, use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you get at the store. And yes, we will at the end of this show answer a Twitter question for a free giveaway from Lamb Chops.
What you said about Shannon playing fast and playing fast being a good way to combat Oklahoma City's handsiness and swarming defense. Finch had a great answer before Game 4 talking about that. He was saying, he thinks his team turns the ball over less when they play fast than when they play methodically. And at first blush, that can sound crazy, but it's very true with this team. I mean, they're probably at their worst, and they were at their worst early in the season when Julius Randle would just, pound the ball and wait and wait and wait. And against Oklahoma City, you can't play that way.
This is a team, the Wolves, Jim, that, you don't want them thinking too much. They play much better when they are instinctive, when they're reacting in the flow, when they are playing with force. But if you try to if the Wolves try to get into like a chess match where they're, trying to outwit their opponents, that's just not their strength. Mike Conley's very, very good at that, but the other guys on the team are not just going to win those kind of thinking man's games. And so when it becomes a deliberate game, when it becomes, dribble, 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 looking for the right matchup, waiting. You're playing right into the Thunder's hands. The Thunder are incredibly smart. They are a machine defensively. They know exactly where they're supposed to be. They do not make many game plan mistakes at all on that end of the floor, especially in the half court. And so that means that the Wolves have their best chance when they are using their physical talent, their athleticism, their just overall game to go right at the Thunder. And that's in transition, semi-transition. That is where the strength of the Wolves really starts to shine through. I think that the Wolves at their best I would argue, have a better top flight game than the Thunder do. But the Thunder are just so much more reliable, so much more consistent possession to possession. So when you're trying to get into winning that kind of a game, you're going to lose it almost every time against the Thunder. But if they can get out and run, if they can get the ball moving quickly and where they're reacting more than they're thinking, that's when their physical talent comes to the forefront. And that's where I think they have the advantage on the Thunder. And we just haven't seen that quite enough so far in these 4 games.
Set up game 5 for us. And if you would, tell us how different, if at all, the atmospheres are in Oklahoma City versus Target Center.
Yeah, so game 5, it's going to be a grueling one. Oklahoma City probably does have the best home court advantage in the league. And I will say this, Target Center has been amazing all throughout these playoffs, but in particular in this series, it's been incredibly loud. The Wolves do get a boost from it. And it's made a big difference. I mean, they won by 42 and they lost by 2 in these 2 games. And the atmosphere that Target Center brought was incredible. Now, there's no question that it's going to be incredibly loud in Oklahoma City because they are on the verge of going to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2012, and everyone is going to be jacked up. And so the Wolves typically respond well in those types of situations. This does seem to be a team that needs to have its back against the wall to get its best performance, and there's no bigger wall that they're facing than what they are now, down 3-1 to the best team in the league, and they're going to be on the road and everyone's going to be against them. And so I do expect them to play well and to put up a real fight. The question becomes, do they have enough to really just outlast this Thunder team? I thought it's hard to me, Jim, to envision the Thunder playing better than they played in game 4. They were incredible from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, they did what they needed to do against Randall and Edwards, and the Wolves still lost by 2. So, this has been a competitive series. They've been there, and it just it hasn't gotten their way. So they're going to need more from Randall. They're going to need more from Ant, and they're going to need to throw everything they have at the Thunder just for a chance to get it back for game 6. And, if they can find a way to win, then they'll have a little bit of life coming back home. But this is a huge mountain for them to climb in game 5 in OKC.
We could have judged the Cat trade a million different ways, depending on what day we were talking for the last, ever since the trade was made. Right now, we're at a point where Cat was a monster in his last game, helped the Knicks, win in Indy, and Julius who was incredible for basically 3 months, has had 2 terrible games in his last 3. What did you make of Cat coming through the way he did?
Yeah, and it was kind of amazing because the first 3 quarters, Cat was terrible. Yep. Didn't do anything, and then he goes for 20 and 8 in the 4th. Was incredibly happy for him to see him play that way. But it was kind of interesting that he did all of that damage when Brunson was on the bench with foul trouble, and so I think that opened some things up for him that he had not had earlier in the series, and he came through. It was an epic performance in the 4th quarter. I would say the one thing we have to say as well from the Knicks side of things for the Wolves is that DiVincenzo was incredible in game 4. I mean, Randall played terrible. DiVincenzo was really, really good. And so I think it is, I still think it's going to be, no matter what happens here the rest of the way with either of these series, I do think it's a win-win for both teams. But as a Cat guy, I was really happy to see him hit some amazing big shots, grab some rebounds, and rally the Knicks in a way that, had they lost that game, their season is definitely over, down 3-0. So we'll see what he does in game 4 tonight. We're recording this on, what is this, Tuesday? So,
Yep.
So we'll see if he can keep that going. But to watch him have the ability to turn it on like he did, there's very few players in the league that can put a quarter together like that. And he's definitely one of them.
Let's wrap up this show with our Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line Twitter question of the week.
Right. A reminder, go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything that you can get there at Lamb Chops. But we'll go with, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are angsty right now, and understandably so. Let's go with Steve Forrest, who says, what are some silver linings to this series and the team as a whole? And I would say that what we have seen is, despite it being 3-1 right now, the Wolves have had opportunities to win at least 2 of these other games. And the level that they are reaching, especially offensively, against this Thunder team. I mean, the Thunder defense is historically good. Largely believed to be maybe the best defense of the past 20 years, including last year's Wolves team. And what the Wolves have done is hang 269 points on them in the last 2 games. They have proven that they can score with these guys. And that is a really impressive thing. The other thing is that, Ant is 23 years old. He is 3 years younger than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now. And so when you look at some of the things that Shai has been able to do in this series that maybe are a step above what Ant has been able to do, think of what Ant is going to be in 3 years, and think of already how good he's going to be. And so I think that, those 2 things are things that Wolves fans can look at, cling to, believe in, that can kind of just maybe raise your perspective and your dauber a little bit. There's, no question this has been disappointing that they're down 3-1. It seems like they are headed for another, exit from the Western Conference Finals. We'll see what happens. But I think there have been things within this series against the team that has been clearly the best team in the league all season long, for them to feel good about and take away from the series whenever it ends, unless, they shock everyone and win 3 in a row.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Looking forward to our next show, one way or the other. It's been a fascinating season. And whenever the season ends, whether it's 2 days or 2 weeks, the decisions this organization is facing in the offseason are also going to be fascinating. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. We do appreciate it. And sorry about my face, so we'll talk to you next week.